Could your blood type decide how you die? Most people think those 4 simple letters only matter when you need a blood transfusion, but hidden inside your blood type is a biological signature that quietly influences how your blood clots, how your immune system recognizes threats, and how your body responds to certain diseases. It doesn't write your destiny, yet over an entire lifetime, it may subtly change the odds in ways most people never realize. Today, we're going to uncover the science behind one of the most misunderstood genetic traits you were born with, and why understanding it could completely change the way you think about your health. Let's start with the biggest misconception. Most people believe blood type is simply a label, A, B, AB, or O. Doctors check it before surgery, before donating blood, or during an emergency. Beyond that, it seems completely irrelevant. But biologically, that's like saying your fingerprints only matter when the police identify someone. Your blood type is actually part of a much larger communication system inside your body. Imagine every cell in your bloodstream wearing a tiny identification badge. That badge tells your immune system which cells belong and which ones don't. It also changes how certain proteins interact with your blood vessels, how inflammation develops, and even how some viruses and bacteria attach to your tissues. Those tiny molecular badges never change. They've been influencing your biology since the day you were born. Mechanism 1. The hidden language on your cells. To understand why blood type matters, we need to zoom down to the surface of a single red blood cell. At first glance, every red blood cell looks nearly identical, but under a microscope, they're covered with tiny sugar molecules called antigens. Think of these antigens like flags flying on every delivery truck traveling through your bloodstream. Type A displays one flag. Type B displays another. Type AB carries both. Type O carries neither. For decades, scientists believed these markers only determined blood compatibility. Then researchers discovered something unexpected. These same markers appear throughout your body, not only on blood cells, but also on cells lining your digestive tract, respiratory system, blood vessels, and many other tissues. Suddenly, blood type wasn't just about transfusions anymore. It became part of the biological environment that every disease encounters. Mechanism 2. The river that must never stop. Now imagine your bloodstream as a river flowing 24 hours a day. Every second, oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and immune cells travel through this river to keep you alive. But rivers face 2 opposite dangers. Flow too slowly, and debris begins to collect. Flow too freely after an injury, and everything leaks away. Your body solves this problem using one of the most sophisticated balancing systems ever evolved: blood clotting. Most people imagine clotting as a simple on-off switch. You're cut. Blood clots. Problem solved. Reality is far more complicated. Hundreds of proteins constantly communicate with one another, deciding every second whether blood should continue flowing or rapidly form a clot. One of those proteins is called von Willebrand factor. Its job is simple. When a blood vessel is damaged, it acts like biological Velcro, helping platelets stick together and seal the injury. Research has consistently shown that people with non-O blood types often carry higher circulating levels of von Willebrand factor and another clotting protein called factor V compared with people who have type O blood. That doesn't mean their blood is dangerous. It doesn't mean they're destined for heart disease. It simply means the balance point of their clotting system sits slightly differently. Imagine 2 rivers. Both flow perfectly. One simply has a few more sandbags waiting on the shore in case a flood begins. Most days, you'll never notice the difference. Over decades, under the right conditions, those small differences can matter. Mechanism 3. When small risks become big problems. Here's where genetics is often misunderstood. People think genes work like light switches. Either they're on, or they're off. Biology almost never behaves that way. Instead, think of your health like rolling a giant snowball down a mountain. Blood type doesn't create the snowball, it simply changes the steepness of the hill. If your blood pressure stays high for 20 years, if cholesterol quietly accumulates inside your arteries, if inflammation continues damaging the vessel walls, if smoking repeatedly injures the delicate lining of those arteries, that slightly steeper hill can allow the snowball to grow just a little faster. Notice something important. Blood type isn't causing the damage. It's interacting with everything else already happening inside your body. This is why two people with identical blood types can experience completely different lives. Genes provide the terrain, lifestyle determines the journey. Mechanism 4. The silent threat inside healthy people. One of the most dangerous myths in medicine is believing you can feel cardiovascular disease developing. Usually you can't. Arteries can quietly accumulate plaque for decades. Blood vessels gradually stiffen. Inflammation slowly progresses. Nothing hurts. Nothing feels different. That's because your body is remarkably good at adapting. It keeps compensating, keeps rerouting blood, keeps maintaining normal function, until one day, it can't anymore. This is why cardiovascular risk is so complicated. Blood type may influence one tiny piece of the clotting puzzle. Blood pressure influences another. Blood sugar affects another. Smoking changes another. Exercise changes another. Sleep changes another. Stress changes another. Stress changes another. None of these systems operate independently. They're constantly talking to one another. Your health is less like a single domino. It's more like an entire network. Mechanism 5. Why some infections see different bodies. Blood type doesn't only shape your bloodstream. Many cells throughout your nose, lungs, stomach, and intestines carry the same blood group markers. To certain microorganisms, those markers become part of the landscape they encounter. Imagine trying to dock a boat. Some harbors fit better than others. Researchers have found statistical associations between blood groups and susceptibility to certain infections. That does not mean one blood type is immune, nor does it mean another is doomed. It simply means microbes sometimes interact differently depending on the molecular environment they encounter. It's another reminder that blood type quietly participates in far more biological processes than most people ever imagine. Mechanism 6. The cancer question. Whenever blood type is discussed, cancer eventually enters the conversation. Here's where we need to separate headlines from evidence. Several large observational studies have reported associations between certain blood groups and the risk of specific cancers. Researchers continue investigating why. Some hypotheses involve inflammation, others involve immune recognition, others focus on interactions between blood group molecules and surrounding tissues. But one thing remains critically important. Association is not causation. Having a particular blood type does not mean cancer is waiting for you. It means researchers have observed statistical patterns that deserve further investigation. Science asks questions. It doesn't jump to conclusions. Mechanism 7. The biggest myth of all. So, could your blood type decide how you die? Not according to today's evidence. Think about weather forecasts. A 70% chance of rain doesn't guarantee you'll get wet. It tells you the environment favors rain. You still decide whether you carry an umbrella. Blood type works much the same way. It shifts probability. It doesn't predict destiny. This distinction changes everything. Because once people hear the word genetics, many assume the story is already written. But biology isn't a prison. It's a negotiation happening every single day. Every healthy meal, every workout, every night of quality sleep, every cigarette avoided, every point your blood pressure comes down. Those decisions continuously interact with the biology you inherited. Mechanism 8. The risk you can actually control. Imagine life as a card game. Your blood type is one card. Your age is another. Your family history adds a few more. You never chose those cards. But they aren't the entire hand. Exercise changes the game. Nutrition changes the game. Body weight changes the game. Managing diabetes changes the game. Controlling blood pressure changes the game. Lowering cholesterol changes the game. Stopping smoking changes the game. These factors often have a far greater impact on long-term cardiovascular health than blood type alone. That's incredibly empowering. Because while you can't rewrite your genes, you can absolutely change the environment those genes live in. So what should you take away from all this? Know your blood type. Not because it predicts your future, but because understanding your biology helps you make better decisions. Know your blood pressure. Know your cholesterol. Know your blood sugar. Stay physically active. Protect your heart long before symptoms appear. Because the people who live the longest usually aren't the ones with the perfect genes. They're the ones who consistently reduce the risks they can actually control. Your blood type is the biological hand you were dealt before you took your first breath. But every decision you make afterward becomes another card placed on the table. The science doesn't say your blood type decides how you die. It says it may quietly influence the risks your body carries throughout life. The rest of the story is still being written by you.